Okay, everyone, this is Michael Root, your announcer for the final week, week 10 of the iRacing series. So I'm gone and checked everything, and everything looks good. It looks like the stream is streaming. The quality looked good to me. I will say it does seem like my computer is running a little bit chuggier tonight, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the stream. But that's why I'm starting a little bit later. I wanted to start about 5 minutes ago, but I usually get a little bit at the end of practice in. But getting everything up and running was a little bit of a chore. I wonder if it's due to that massive patch that was deployed to fix the fact that all CPUs are broken. I don't know. So I would also say this computer, while it's a Core i5, it's got a great graphics card. It's probably, the processor and memory are probably at least 5 years old. I remember back in the 90s, if you had a 5-year-old computer, if you had a 6-month-old computer, it was out of date, let alone a 5-year-old computer. But in modern times, it's the processors and memory and stuff seem to push on for a lot longer than they used to. However, probably once they release new processors that don't have these problems, that need these software patches, I will probably upgrade. Hopefully that will be before next season. We'll see how that goes. So tonight we have 21 racers on grid, and it looks like we are waiting to start. We could start at any moment. And there we go, the pace cars rolling out. We have our usual setup of Mustangs and Volkswagens and Miatas. Sorry there, I think I was hearing some chatter. I wanted to make sure it wasn't me or coming through the speakers. Nice shot of all the cars coming through turn 1, and they're nice, controlled, warming up their tires, warming up their brakes. We get a full pace lap here on Summit Point. So we get a nice little leisurely stroll around to get everything nice and warmed up. I don't know what's going on with the car in the back. I think that's Alan Claffey, or Claffey. I don't know why he's hanging out so far back, but, you know, to each their own. Bit of a gap between the Miatas and the Volkswagens. I'm curious if the Miatas are sort of doing that on purpose. Maybe the two in the front had a little bit of a deal ahead of time, as like, hey, we want to have a nice clean race. Let's leave a little gap between us and the Volkswagens. at least a nice clean start, of course. You can see there's a little bit of a gap between the Volkswagens and the Mustangs as well. So normally in mixed class racing in the real world, we see these cars just kind of stay right on top of one another unless they're doing what's called a split start, where you actually have two pace cars, and when the first group of cars is about halfway around the track, they send the second group of cars out under a pace car. That's a split start, and that is used sometimes, often at the request of the drivers, which isn't often, it's sometimes, but it's usually done for a particular reason, either because the cars are too closely matched and they think there will be too much mixing in the classes and it might interfere with races too much, right? Because there's always going to be mixing in mixed class racing. Or there's a massive differential and the cars want some distance before they start off. And we have the green flag. You can see everybody hitting their accelerators and zipping on down the track. Trying to sort my positions now. Up front we have 6 Mustangs. We have Greg in the number 66 car, currently in the lead. Michael Monaghan in the 05, Travis Russell in the 140, James in the 48, Francois in the 69, and Don in the number 92. So that's your number 1 through 6 Mustangs. As we look back, there's David Alessi in the number 34, first place in the Volkswagen, 7th overall. Behind him is Louis Alessi, his father, who is in the number 43 car and 8th overall. Dave Fitzgerald's in the number 9 car. He's in 12th overall, so he's a little bit farther back. And Todd Beimer is in the number 21 car in 18th overall. I'm actually curious if maybe they had a bit of an incident together, and that's why they're both falling back like that. But let's go ahead and take a look at our Miatas, and you can see there is DJ Alessandrini in the number 191. I definitely heard that noise. Hold on a second here, folks, while I make sure I disconnect from Discord. I usually have Discord up on my phone so that I can hear some of the racers talk about what they're doing. It can be helpful because they call out incidents and flags and things like that, but it seems like my headphones have disconnected from my actual phone. I actually use 2 sets of headphones, my earphones and headphones, but now we are just on the headphones. So as I was saying, we have DJ, first place in Miatas, the 191 car, Kenneth in the number 23 car, and behind him, Zach Rubin in the number 7 car. That is the first, second, and third place Miatas. They are pinched between David and Louis Alessi. And Dave Fitzgerald here right behind Louis, catching up to him. I can't really see what's going on here, so I'm going to jump in a little bit closer. There is David behind Louis. As you can see, not much difference there. David definitely catching up, making some distance. Our Miatas passing David right now. Probably going to take him on the straight here. Looks like that's what's going to happen. I don't necessarily know why the lead car has moved over like that in the Miatas. That's a bit strange. He's giving up the good position to DJ. The only thing I could think he was doing is maybe trying to block, which you're not allowed to do, so either way, I think it put him in a bad position. Of course, now he's on the better line going into turn 3, but I think DJ is going to outdrive him here. But as you see, Zach able to take the race line, able to catch up to both of them because he took a much faster line. He wasn't battling for position. And now you have DJ out in front, and you've got Zach right behind him. So that really did not work out well for Kenneth, which I could have told you going down the main straight when Kenneth, who was in the lead, moved to the inside. That was not going to work out well for him. He really put himself in a bad position there. I think he was doing it to try to block DJ. And it really set him up poorly for the turn 1 entry, exit, and all that other stuff. So he's really got nobody to blame but himself for his positioning. Kicking up a little bit gravel there, not too uncommon with the Miatas. And we have DJ, Zach, and Kenneth going down the straight. 4th overall, but behind our 3 Volkswagens is Sam Scott. And we have Thomas in the number 19. Dennis in the number 91. Noel in the number 9. Mark in the number 41. Richard in the 461. And then Alan in the number 39. Todd in the back. I'm trying to see if he's put any time in the pits. I don't see any time in the pits, so it doesn't look like anybody's wrecked and had to go back to the pits yet. So that's good news. You can see our Miata racers, DJ and Kenneth, definitely out in the lead. Zach behind Kenneth now. So definitely some movement in the front of this pack. I don't see much change going on in the Mustangs. If you want an update, it's Greg, Michael, Travis, James, Francois, and Don, which is how it's been since the first lap. Now, Michael Monaghan only about 0.4 of a second behind Greg, so he is close. But, again, not seeing a lot of change there. A little bit more going on here with these Miatas. I know sometimes it looks slow, but trust me, it is very fast. Depending on the camera angle and what they're shooting, see, it looked very fast going through turn 3 there. These cars, especially as the camera moves and pans, can look like they're moving slow, but they are flying. Especially going through 4, which as you could see that 4 turn back there, they just went through 5 right now, but behind 5 is 4, which is that bend to the right. Most people in most cars take 4 as a straightaway. You basically stay on the gas, you don't lift, you don't hit the brakes, you just gun it right through there. I will tell you, it is a very hairy experience. You always feel like you are going to just wreck your car. But it is how you drive that turn. Same coming into 10, as you notice our speeds are very high, typically like in the mid-70s, high 70-mile-an-hour range, coming through 10. It's a very wide turn. There's a lot of track. And if you enter apex and exit appropriately, you can draw a pretty straight racing line through that corner. And this is your big slowdown, though. Of course, turn 1, a lot of braking and downshifting going into 1. Coming out into 2, which they are going through 2 now, our front runners. 2's not much of a turn. It is labeled, but a lot of people don't really consider it much of a turn. You know, of course, coming here through 3, these guys really moving through 3. 3 is a very tough turn to take fast. As you see them going through 4, you saw no brake lights. Of course, they brake coming into 5. 5, another very similar to turn 1. You have to brake and downshift a lot. Oh, there's one of our Mustangs. Looks like it's Francois, who is going to just go ahead and take himself back to the pits. Maybe he hit a wall. As we look at our Mustangs coming down the straight, you have Greg out in front and Michael right on his tail. Really some tight racing in our front runners here between the Mustangs and the Miatas. I'm trying to keep an eye on both races. You can see a little bit on the track map. On that map, the yellow colored dots are our Mustangs. The pink-ish dots are our Miatas, and our blue dots are our Volkswagens. And you can see David and Louis are also right on top of one another, really running nose to tail. We'll try to check in on all of our front runners as we go around the track tonight. You see the spectators out at Summit Point. I mean, that's a really realistic description of what you would see. A lot of people bring campers. They camp out and watch the races. Of course, you can sit in the grandstands. There are grandstands at around turn 6, turn 8, turn 10 that can seat quite a few people, and you will typically see a lot of people up in the grandstands. There's also on the inside of the track grandstands right at turn 5. So lots of places, but of course if you'd rather be on the ground and against the fence line, that is an option as well. And you see a lot of people down there camping and having a good time. Here we see Michael coming off the line, maybe to make a move to go to the inside of Greg, deciding the better of it and just keeping on his tail. Maybe Michael realizing I've got 20 minutes of race left and Greg is not somebody to be taken lightly. So he's going to let Greg run the lead for a little bit and look for that prime opportunity. Check in with Louis and David, who are actually right behind our Miata Frontrunner group, which it looks like there's a lot of mix-up going on here. We've got Zach labeled as being out in front, and now DJ out in front. Woo, some tight racing there coming through turn 3. I'm showing Zach and DJ back and forth. They're pretty much, whoa. So a little bit of tail kick out there from Zach, I believe. A little bit more there coming out of turn 5. These guys racing very close, right on top of one another. Sorry, folks, trying to hit my cough button. Just a little bit of cough. Surprisingly, I've been well for about a week and a half or so, what I would fully consider like not sick. And then today I started coughing again. So I've got a mute button, not as good as my old mute button. You'll probably hear me click it because it's a mechanical button, but and it's on the microphone. Ugh, it's not the best, but I will try to use it sparingly. DJ, Zach, and Kenneth in that order coming out of turn 1. Zach moving to the inside of DJ. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it. If he can keep DJ to the outside, though, that's going to make this turn a bit rough. And it's going to give Kenneth a run on both of them, sort of like what Zach did earlier, because Kenneth can be able to take the faster line. Doesn't look like Kenneth really able to capitalize on that. Here we see all 3 cars coming in. Zach just not giving DJ any racing room. He is just making sure he knows he's there. He's crowding his corner. He's trying to keep him off the racing line. Doesn't want him to just run away, as sometimes DJ can. Still David and Louis in those Volkswagens, as you can see, picking up some speed. They have not only caught up to the Miatas, but they could be mixing with them soon. Something I think David's going to want to take advantage of. If David can get in that mix and cause some separation, he's going to force Louis. Oh! I just saw Kenneth coming fast on the rear bumper of Zach. I think Kenneth had more speed, but he had to end up hitting his brakes to avoid hitting Zach, which really kind of stinks for Kenneth. Honestly, I probably would have tried to shoot between the cars myself and keep my momentum, because you can see now Kenneth really paying for that little bit of brake he had to use. That really caused his car to fall back. Some really intense racing with these 5 cars. I mean, it's great when we can basically take one shot and see 2 different race leaders battling it out for position. Those Miatas all running great lines around the track. I mean, it's really nice to see when they are all smoothly maneuvering something like the carousel, and they just look like a snake because they are all, you know, taking the corners the same, going the same speed, doing everything sort of the same, which is a good indication that you're probably doing it pretty close to right. We could see Lewis, who pulled out a little bit there on David, but ended up pulling back in, deciding he didn't really have the speed, I think, to try and overtake. Now DJ Kenneth and Zach as we go through into turn 3. Zach right on Kenneth's tail. I want to give you a little info about tonight's race, if I can pull up the email. So obviously tonight is the grand finale of our 10-race season. Dave and I have been talking, and we might do a format change. I think what we might want to do for everyone, you know, we had that long break in the season of 2 or 3 weeks in the middle of a season because everybody, you know, it's the holidays and all that kind of stuff. What we might do next year is we might do 2 6-session races. So you're actually going to end up getting 2 more races, but it does a couple of things. And it looks like we have a Mustang who's off the track coming back on the track. That looks like Don Manning. So Don and Francois both kind of out of contention for the lead at the moment. Just something under discussion. If you like the idea, maybe leave a comment on YouTube or Facebook. But we were talking about 2 6-session series. What it would do is we keep the series shorter so we can have a break, but we're not interrupting the series. We could run like a 6-session before the holidays and a 6-session after the holidays, but before something like driver school. We also think that, you know, in this situation, we have some close races. We'll go over the points. In Big Bore, a.k.a. the Mustangs, Mike Monaghan holds a 15-point lead over Greg, who is 17 points ahead of Forrest Landry, who's in 3rd place. And I don't see Forrest tonight, so wonder how those points are going to hold out. And then in the MX5 Cup, we have DJ, who is leading Carter by an entire race, basically, 25 points. And the SRF champion, Kenneth Houseal, is only 5 points behind Carter in 3rd. So really, we have a points battle for 2nd and 3rd. I don't see Carter tonight. So it's, you know, that just only gives Kenneth the opportunity, especially as good as he's racing right now, to sort of take that 2nd place trophy. You basically would have to have Mike, not Mike. Sorry, I'm going back and forth here, folks. You'd have to have DJ crash and quit. Oh, we've got somebody going off the track. I believe that was Kenneth. Oh, yes. Oh, not good for Kenneth. He's coming back on, but he definitely impacted that inside wall. He only lost 1 position right now. If his car isn't too badly banged up, I don't think that's going to have... in the overall point standings, it's not going to have much of an effect on him. And he's not out of this race yet. We still have 11.5 minutes to go. The closest battle this year is in the VW TDI Cup class. Louis Alessi has a tenuous 6-point lead over Dave Fitzgerald. There's a good margin between 2nd and 3rd, but only 3 points separate 3rd place Jimmy Saffel and Travis Trussell. As we can see tonight, we have David and Lewis battling it out. But Dave Fitzgerald and Todd Breimer, I don't see Jimmy or Travis. So interesting point runnings and who decided to show up and who's not here. Of course, there's always lots of reasons why people can or can't make these races, but so we were talking about maybe doing the sort of shorter sessions so we don't split a race event between a holiday, and we don't necessarily, like, if you have somebody who comes in and there goes Kenneth into the pits deciding there is a problem with his car that he needs fixed. So that's really going to set him back. Louis and David now separated by Don. Depending on how much effect Don has on this race, I mean, he's obviously going to get ahead of these two cars due to the speed differential. But while he is in between them, he's only really helping David and hurting Louis, who's behind, because he's creating space. Seems like he's going to pass here going into 5. Nope. David says, I don't care how many horsepower you have. I'm not just going to let you around me. Which is honestly smart on David's part. I mean, keeping that car between him and Louis is only causing Louis to probably curse and spit on his monitor right now, because that is very frustrating when you have that out-of-class car. And even though that car is faster than both of those cars, it is forcing separation and creating distance between Louis and Dave. I can only imagine Dom here should be able to take off going down the straight and pass David and end this monkey in the middle situation. Ooh, almost looked like there was a little bit of nose to tail there. Which would work to Lewis's advantage. If so, a little bump slowing David down there. So some other region news. The new Washington, D.C. region SCCA website, WDCR-SCCA.org, is up. If you have not visited our new website, I highly encourage you to do so. With a very cool landing page that's got video that plays in the background, that was even has our own Dave Fitzgerald in it, but it has several people who you might recognize. And then the website itself is a new, sleek, modern design. Show it to your friends, show it to your family, put it on your Facebook page, get that thing out there. We really want people to see our new website, to know about our organization, and to get interested in motorsports. We have also our Mars schedule posted for those of you that are interested. Of course, you can see our Mars schedule on our Facebook page. It is posted up there now. And on our Facebook page, I'll give you a quick rundown of the schedule so that you have an idea. March 24th and 25th will be our Racing School for Competition license. Very, very important. If you want to race with us, come out to the Racing School for Competition license. We have a Racing School webpage, maybe called Driver School. We're changing that. We don't want any confusion where people think they're coming out to learn how to, like, drive in traffic. The Racing School has its own subpage on the website. Take a look. It tells you everything you need to know. You need a novice permit, you need full safety gear, and you need a car. Whether you buy a car or you rent a car, I mean, there's lots of options out there. You've got companies like RP Performance, Windsor Racing. You've got Meathead Racing. There's other companies. I know there's an SRF company that rents the Spec Racer Fords. We have lots of partners out there. We're going to try and get their information up on our website. But there are folks out there that will rent you a car if you don't want to buy one. If you do want to buy one, please check out racingjunk.com, where you can buy, sell, or trade anything related to motorsports, including cars. And then you've got places like OG Racing to get your safety gear, where you can get your helmet, your fire suit, your gloves, your socks, you know, everything you need to go racing. So I highly encourage you, if this is interesting you, really consider our Racing School for Competition license. It's only $199. I realize after you spend not an insignificant amount of money on safety gear, a car, and all that other stuff, $199, you're like, pfft, right? But yeah, that's what we want, right? We want you to think it's not a major expense. That's why we make it as inexpensive as it is for one of the best racing schools in the country. And honestly, you would pay $1,500 anywhere else for something similar. We're offering it to you for $200, and then we'll give you $300 off, essentially $100 off each of your first 3 home races at Summit Point. So the school will pay you $100 to go, essentially, because you're getting that discount on future races. You really can't beat it anywhere. You can't beat SCCA for racing. We're the oldest, the most professional. We write the book that everybody else follows, and you can't get more track time for less money. We are cheaper than the competition, and we give you more time on track. I mean, SCCA, we're also the largest, right? We're not fighting for to be the best or to be number one. We're not, quote unquote, the fastest growing, as some of our competitors like to claim. That's great that they're growing, but they're trying to catch up to us, right? We are the premier racing organization. So if you want to race SCCA, WDCR-SCCA.org, that is your place to go. So now that I've pimped up the driver school, because it's very important to me, I really want a lot of people at driver school. I will be at driver school. If you want to meet me, shake the hand of the voice personality of iRacing.com. More than happy to meet you. I'll be more than happy to talk to you at driver school, help you out. I might even bring my wrenches and work on your car if you need some help. I've done it before. Ever since I went through racing school, every year I've gone back to racing school and basically stood around waiting and looking for that person that looks like they need help, because there's always somebody. So I will be there, depending on the weather. Maybe I'll bring my car out. I don't know. You'll definitely see it at Mars 1. April 14th, 15th is the Mars and the New Jersey Road Racing Series, NJRRS, at Summit Point. We are hosting New Jersey. They're coming down for 2 races this year. We're going up there for 2. And the first joint, event will be April 14th, 15th at Summit Point. That is our home opener. April 28th to 29th, we have, it's the majors coming to Summit Point. That's not a Mars event, but it is always nice to see the pros out there racing. So if you just like to spectate and want to come out and watch, that's definitely something to check out. May 12th to the 13th, we have a Mars SARC VIR double. That's where we go down to the Southern Atlantic Road Racing Series down at VIR. That's their track, one of their tracks. They have lots of tracks. They stretch from like Florida to North Carolina, all the way over to like Georgia. So they're a huge, geographically a huge region. And the VIR is always an exciting race. We always get a large turnout there. It's very fast, fun track. People like it. June 2nd through 3rd, we have the Mars NJRRS Lightning Challenge. So that will be us up in New Jersey running the Lightning course, which I believe you have seen here. June 16th, and you've also seen VIR here, of course. June 16th to 17th is another Mars New Jersey's joint race at Summit Point again, so we're back home. So between April and June, we are pretty much away, but we're back home June 16th, 17th. July 28th, 29th is a Mars Summit Point, one of only 3 solely Mars events. Most of our events are in conjunction with other regions, which is fantastic. We really like working with our fellow surrounding regions in the area and supporting them, and they support us, and that's awesome. August 11th and 12th is another Mars and JRRS Summer Thunder on Thunderbolt. I have never raced Thunderbolt. I'd be interested. I usually don't go to the August race because it's either somewhere I don't want to travel to, or there's like a hurricane, or some type of massive, event occurs, and I don't get the opportunity to race the August series. So I am looking forward to going up and racing on Thunderbolt. September 1st and 3rd is our Labor Day double, Mars Summit Point. Of course, Labor Day, our biggest event of the year. It's 3 days of racing. We do charity events. We do drive-arounds. We have packed crowds. It is, by far, it is a tradition. The Washington, D.C. region's been racing since 1944. They've been at Summit Point, I don't know how long. At least 30 or 40 years, and the Labor Day double has become a event for everybody that lives around in that area. They come out to the track. They set up all kinds of tents and like mini bars and all kinds of stuff. and they camp out for the whole weekend, and people party and they camp and they barbecue and they watch guys race cars. What other fun event would you want to be at on Labor Day than watch a bunch of people race cars while you drink a beer and eat some barbecue? I mean, that's just like, that's awesome, right? So think about it. You got nothing else going on Labor Day unless you're floating on a boat or going to the amusement parks before they close. Come on out. I mean, I'm guaranteed you're going to have a great time on Labor Day. October 6th to 7th is the season closer back at Mars for Summit Point. So that is our schedule. I highly encourage you, come on out, check us out. If you're interested in racing, check out our racing school. Contact any of us. You can message me on Facebook. You can send us a message on our website. You can send us a message on Facebook. If you are interested in this, reach out to us. We will help you get into it. Here we have Greg coming around for what will probably be his final lap. Not that this is his final lap, but he's coming up on his final lap. When he crosses the start-finish line, he will probably get the checker. As we can see, the four Mustangs keeping up with each other pretty close. Here we have Greg coming around. Good lead over Michael Monaghan. I believe this is going to be our white flag lap. Even though it says 2 to go, it's just wrong. That's Greg. Looks like he's actually coming up on a lap car. That must be Francois, or could be Don, I guess. I'm sure my map, if I could read the numbers, would tell me. We look back at our Miata race. DJ quite a bit of lead over Zach. We're looking at about 3 seconds there. Louis ahead of David. So able to overtake and is currently leading his son down the track. As a father myself, I just have to say, good on you, Louis. Never let them win unless they earn it, right? And that is the end of our racers. You see Greg and Michael pulling into the pits. Louis and David pulling up next to each other. We'll go ahead and take a look at our results. Greg taking first overall and first in the Mustangs. Michael a close second, 2.2 seconds. Then Travis Trussell in third, James Saffel in fourth. The winner of our Miatas was DJ Alessandrini. And then just behind him is Zach Rubin. And then our Volkswagen group, Louis coming in first in front of David. Our number 3 Miata was Sam Scott. Number 4 was Thomas Lee. 5th was Dennis Barnett. 6th with Noel Leslie. Dave Fitzgerald coming in 3rd in our Volkswagens. You can see Todd Breimer there coming in 4th. Then in the Miatas, behind Noel, was Kenneth and Mark. You know, Kenneth still making up quite a bit of time after the incident he had on the track. So